welcome to another brand new episode here on 1950's Farm. So as you can see, today we have got the plough out. But before we begin with all of that, how are you all doing? Hope you're all having a good day and that things are going as you would maybe hope that they would do. But yeah, as I say, we are out with the plough today and we're turning over the land. So this is the small grass field that we bought next to our big field where we were cutting down the trees the other day. Well, we weren't really cutting them down, but we were logging the wood up, and so I've made a bit of a border around. It's not entirely straight and square, but it's not far out either. So I'm really happy with what I've done in this field, and yeah, as I say, that's the reason why I'm trying to get rid of all the trees, is so that actually when you are in the fields, you can actually see what you're doing, and sort of have good vision all the time, because the trees in Farming Sim, they do not allow you to do that. So that's why we're gradually getting rid of the trees, and it also as well, it will help us to extend the fields a little bit, make them a bit squarer, make them a bit easier. I obviously don't want to make the fields humongous, but back in sort of the late 1950s, really more, I think, when it became more widespread. But a lot of farmers, not only in America but also in the UK and across Europe, saw major sort of say field expansions, but like area expansions, where farmers were taking area of wooded land and making those areas, turning them back to fields, basically. So it happened initially in the late 1940s, when food obviously was in massively short supply. So a lot of wooded areas lost, if you like, the battle to turn them back to arable land where they could grow food. And of course, not only that as well, but you think that, you sort of kind of in a way think, well, yeah, that was a wise thing to do, wasn't it? Cut down all the trees. But in the sort of the late 1940s, and certainly through the 1930s and the 1940s, wood was in massive demand. Our military was needing it, our Air Force was needing it. Wood was in huge demand, and so the actual kind of, because initially when I sort of saw that, I was like, well, all right, at the time they probably didn't know that cutting down trees wasn't the answer, do you know what I mean? But I was kind of like, I was thinking surely he could have come up with a better thing than that. But as I say, wood was in a massive demand. It was being supplied for the building of airplanes and sort of stuff like that, and so you began to see the link of why farms were removing woodland and turning it back to farmland. But at the same time, they were the woodland that was there was a crop in that field, and they were selling off the wood and what have you, and so it was a big a big thing that was, as I say, done not only in the USA but also my friend Ray, that I talk about a lot. He was saying that in the late 1940s into the early 50s, it happened. The mid 50s, it started to tail off a little bit. So of course we now get into the point where the first big depression happened, sort of not only again in America where we are, for this save, but also across the whole of Europe. Food was all of a sudden in plentiful supply. Materials, they had that much material that they just had nothing to do with it, and as I've said before, farmers in the USA, I've been reading sort of accounts from many different farms all the way across the USA, that sort of tell the tale and the story of we were harvesting the corn in the fall, and we were using the corn, for fuel, for fire fuel, and burning it because they couldn't sell it. There was literally no market for it. The market was flooded. The same could be said for wood, for bricks, cement. Suddenly the world was overcome with the supply of everything that it had once been desperate for was now just so overstocked that as I say, farming, a lot of the farmers that had taken up the initiative from Harry S. Truman, went out of existence because they couldn't afford to live. They were bringing in no money. They weren't able to sell none of their crops. And people like Harry, people like the dairy, and there were, many, many more across, not only again, as I say, America, but also England and places like that. I mean, I quite good friends with a couple of farmers, and some of they now run the farms, but they're my age, so I kind of went to school with them, and I've sort of kind of kept in touch with them and what have you, and some of them, as I say, have been running the farm now for 10, 15 years, and I went to see one a couple of days ago. I said, like, I'm doing this series on YouTube, and kind of I would like to know. Again, I realise it was the UK, whereas we're in America, but I can't just get in the car and toddle off to Ohio and sort of ask local farmers what it was like. It's not going to work. So I sort of said to him, how did your family survive that period? And a lot of them have kind of sort of said, well, actually, we struggled, as a family. I mean, like their dads are still alive. For the one I went to see, the granddad was still alive, as well. And I basically, sort of got to, in the end, sit down, with sort of the three of them, and ask. And the granddad was saying, it was very, very tough. And yes, we ate plentiful because of the things that we grew. I mean, they're quite big veg growers in my area, so they sort of carrots and onions and stuff like that. They're sort of more geared towards the veg market than they are the grain market. They do grow grain and sort of flax and stuff like that. They do have that sort of stuff, but they're just more geared towards, as I say, the veg market. And they said, like, it was just a case of holding on. It was just a case of holding on, and they'd been doing very well. They'd put money aside, that as they were getting, the thing is, I think a lot of farmers were making all of these riches and living the high life. And I think the business astute people among them were like, this isn't going to be this good forever. There is going to come a point where a storm is going to come. And I think my dad, I mean, we're not sort of business people. Like, I've sort of spoken about my dad a little bit before, and sort of that sort of kind of relationship that I had with him. And that he said to me, one of the biggest things you need to do, James, is prepare yourself for the storms that come. Everyone loves being out in the sunshine, but it's not always, the sun's not always going to shine. And what you need to do is to make sure that when the sun isn't shining, you have somewhere to be, and something that will look after you and protect you. And and I was kind of like, when I remember it well, we were playing snooker and we were sort of talking about life. I was about 17, 18, and I said, what on earth do you mean? And he said, savings. Yes, you want to go out, you want to live, you want to do this, that, and everything else, fine, no one stops you, it's a good idea. You need to do it because you need to get experiences. But you need to remember, the sun isn't always going to shine, and at some point there's going to be a storm. And when there's a storm, you need to make sure that you've got plenty in reserve to be able to ride that storm out. And as I say, the grandfather of the people that I went to see had kind of sort of said the same thing, that they hadn't been spending the money and the riches willy-nilly. They had been saving it, They didn't want for nothing, but at the same time they weren't excessive in the luxuries that they had. And he said that they'd been saving, and he said, and gradually as the farms began to fall and land was readily available, no one outside of farming wanted to buy it because there was no money in it. And as he said, the property world wasn't trying to snap up every last acre there was. James Dyson wasn't trying to buy every last acre in the UK as he's trying to do at the moment. And of course, he's the big reason why the English government are kind of have got their attitude towards farming that they've got. He's what him and many others. Uh, you know, the reason why farmers in this country at the moment are being, or one of the reasons why farmers in this country are being attacked so probably is because all the government sees is that billionaires are buying, an absolute ton load of land. They don't need to pay no inheritance on it, so they can protect their money. They can wrap the money up in land and in property and in farming and stuff like this. And now it's kind of bitten everybody on the backside because now they're going to be charged, quite a hefty inheritance tax, and yeah, it's sort of come back. But as he said, back then you didn't have those things. So when land came available, the farms that had prepared, the farms that had saved and what have you, were suddenly able to buy land, and lots of it, because it was in, sort of great demand, because a lot of the farms were going off. And I mean, and Harry himself, within the documentation that I've read, that the family have sort of given me privilege to read. Uh, he says himself, a lot of the it was called the boom farmers, back in the sort of 1950, well, not late 1940s, 50s, and he said a lot of them went out of business, and people like the dairy, people like Harry, and many more, sort of farmers in. Oh dear, what have I done? So, there's a tree there. I couldn't see the tree. I couldn't see the wood for the trees. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Yeah, when I started playing this field, I kind of sort of said to myself, "There's going to be some tree-based jokes coming out during the episode. I'm pretty certain of it." And there we go. There's one. Um, but yeah, so as I say, they were snapping up the land and buying up the land, and that was how they had got to the size they were today. And he said, like, it's no different. A lot of the land that he bought was from farmers that were sort of small holdings, or sort of small time farmers growing food, to feed the local people. And then when farming kind of eventually got past the Great Depression of the late 50s and into the 60s, got past that, food was becoming more how can I put it, was sort of travelling further, if you like, and suddenly there was a demand for lots of things all of the time, for a lot of foods that were only available for a few months of the year was now in demand all of the time. And suddenly food started picking up miles, whether it was our food going to for example, the likes of sort of Russia, China, stuff like that. And that's how they grew and built their business up. So it's fascinating stuff when you do watch and listen. And I'm sort of on YouTube and looking at sort of documentaries about the countryside, about sort of life. As I've said already, that this year I've been very luckily invited to the Lincolnshire Life Museum, and it's going to be closed when I go, and that way I'm going to be free to film. I'm free to have someone walk around with me and explain and give the history lesson and everything like that, and that's happening much later in the year. Um, and so I'm really looking forward to that. I've got some, sort of, well, still in the planning stage at the moment, but it's looking good that I'm going to get I'm going to see if I can get uh, an almost private tour of Duxford, which is a big war museum in Cambridgeshire, and get a private sort of showing of the museum there and what have you, and one or two other little things and bits and pieces that I'm sort of hopefully going to do, and and try and sort of and the idea of me doing these sort of travels and different things is to try and show the full range of life. And like I say, main this year it pretty much will be predominantly in the UK. I mean, you know, I'm a single person, I have to do it myself. I'm someone that doesn't have a great deal of confidence. I'm, sort of looking forward to it on the one hand, but when the realization then hits soon after, well, actually, I've got to do all that by myself, and then I sort of get really anxious and really nervous about it, and really, and so it's quite daunting, but as I say, these are the things that I would like to do, and it's to try and show life, in and around the war, before the war, after the war, life as we know it now, and also as well, there's a couple of, do you know what, I'll put a bend in there now, and it's because of them blooming trees. They're all going to be chopped down. I absolutely detest trees in Farming Simulator. I really, really do. I don't mind if they're like the 3 trees that are directly in front of me, that are down the back of the shed and they hinder nothing. I'm perfectly happy with those trees. But trees around fields, honestly, the AI workers just don't know what to do with them, and it just cannot, under any circumstances, avoid them. And they just hinder your sight, and you can't see anything. And it's just like, I really do detest trees in Farming Simulator. I love them in real life, like trees in real life. Massive fan. Love their work. Love love what they're about. Do you know what I mean? Like, but in Farming Simulator, they just wind me up. I must admit, like as I said before, I'm sort of on Homeworld at the minute, sort of for myself, and I'm trying to build sort of like the ultimate kind of dairy slash contracting business, where we have our own dairy and our own beef stock and pigs and sheep and sort of whatever. But at the same time, I'm running a contracting business, so I've got a few fields that obviously the dairy and stuff needs for grass and for hay and for silage and whatever. But ultimately, the rest of the map is computer owned, and I've got it so that the computer farmers don't do none of the work now. So every job that is available on that map to be done is kind of offered to me in contract, and it's like trying to get through it all. We're just starting out, so initially I gave myself I think it was 10 million, I think, and that was purely only to design the dairy sheds and the sort of beef cattle sheds, and then after that I was on my own. So I'm sort of having to earn everything that I do now. So yeah, the barns and that are in, but everything else is not in at the moment. So like grain stores and stuff like that. And eventually, what I want to do is I want to eventually sort of get up so that I then start buying all of the fields and then farming the whole map and seeing if I can kind of do it. I mean, I'll be doing that sort of loosely with contracting anyway, but yeah, so I want to sort of get it to be a tradition. I've got a business in the UK that's not too far from me. They do a YouTube channel, it's PX Farms, and they're not a million miles from where I live. And I'm trying to kind of half emulate them through the sort of what can I say, arable side of things, but at the same time, sort of have a dairy, because I've always wanted to do dairy farming in Farming Simulator, and I never really have. And I just thought, you know what, actually, I've got forever and a day to, well, hopefully I have, to play this. So I'm just going to sort of do a really slow sort of playthrough, just for myself and what have you, and sort of do that and do it that way. And that's what I've been doing. But I've been going through the last 2 or 3 days of just like literally deleting all of the trees around fields. And I think I'm going to have to do it in this one as well. Like I say, I really do detest trees in farming, because there's just, in the situation that we've got here, I just can't see anything, to get in and to keep straight and what have you. And I must admit, I really, really, really do like my ploughing to be straight. And I work sort of quite hard when sort of while talking and what have you, and concentrate to really make sure that my ploughing is straight, and that it does look nice. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, as I say, with the trips and stuff, and it's to try and give an insight into how life was, sort of growing up. Well, not growing up, because I wasn't growing up in the sort of 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s and 70s even, but sort of, and how it was, and what was going on, and why things were done the way they are, and kind of sort of almost asking that age age old question, there we go, of, was life better then, or is life better now? And I've been to a place in the last week or so. So again, with sort of trying to get into the whole kind of going to museums and museum life centres where they replicate periods of time and what have you. I got invited, so I wrote to Great Yarmouth Council and was asking them about the war in Great Yarmouth and how it was affected, and different things. And they sent me an absolutely gorgeous 396-page book on the history of Great Yarmouth and the Second World War, which was, I honestly, like, blew my mind that they just sent me a copy of that book. And apparently isn't widely available, so it's not available in shops, which is hence the reason why I'd never seen it before. But so the fact that they sent me it, like, was really sort of kind of touched by it, and sort of really grateful for. But then I think it was about a week, fortnight later, I got an email from them that simply said, like, you're welcome to the book, blah blah blah. Would you like to come and look around the Cold War memorabilia that we have? It's not sort of shown to the public or whatever, but if you would be interested, you can come and have a look around. And I went up there and didn't really know sort of what to expect or what to find, or sort of what I was going to find when I got there or anything like that. But I thought, well, I'll go, it's going to be interesting, and it's an absolutely fantastic place. And later this year it's going to be open to the general public. And so they've said, like, before we open it, you can come again. We'll have sort of proper guides, or sort of people that can give the talk, sort of on the exhibition and on the museum and stuff like that, and about what happened, why it happened the way that it did, and all that kind of stuff. And I've said, like, you can come beforehand, and we'll give you the tour. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I say it's really, really fascinating, and I'm looking forward to doing that one. From that, while I was at that museum, so someone who was involved with the sort of beginning of that museum and getting that up and running, as I say, later this year that's going to be open. So I'm looking forward to going. Um, but on the back of that, they were also involved with a place called Muckleborough, which is not all that far. Again, it's on the Norfolk coast, or sort of in Norfolk. It's not necessarily right on the coast, I don't think, but to Muckleborough and the museum. And so I was like, I went there as a child. I said, like, I kind of remember that place. And again, the guy that was sort of showing me around and what have you said, like, again, come up in, we'll exchange email addresses, and a bit nearer to the time when we're getting ready to open, you can come up again, look around look around the museum. Again, we can give you a guided tour, no problem. We can show you everything we've got to offer. You can record it all, and then at the end of the day, and this is the bit that blew my mind. I was not expecting this, right? And he goes, at the end of the day, so I said, yeah. He said, it will be on a Sunday that you have to come. He said, because we're only doing this on a Sunday. So I said, right. So I was thinking it was going to be like a flyby or something like that, and I was like, that's cool, do you know what I mean? Like, so this is the bit that absolutely blew my mind, right? So he said at the end of the day on the Sunday. So I said, yeah. He said, you do this and this, and we do the tour and everything. He said, but then we go to the beach, and I was like, right. He said, then we go to the beach. I said, yeah. He said, and what we'll do is we will put you in a tank, in a Sherman tank, and we will put you over our obstacle course in the tank as it would have been in the battlefields of World War II. And you'll go through sort of barbed wire fences, you'll go over mounds, you'll go through there's a section of like the beach that they have. You'll go through the beach and you'll do this and you'll do that and you'll do everything. And they said, like, and of course you'll be filming the whole thing for your YouTube channel. And said, like, and that should be an absolutely amazing experience, not only for yourself but for the people that are watching. And of course, and I was just like, really? And they was like, yeah. And they said, like, that is available to the public, but it's quite a lot of money. But obviously as a sort of part of your day experience, we'll throw that in, and you can experience that. So I can't wait for that. And they're thinking that's going to be late March, early April, when I get to go and do that. So I'm really, 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 really looking forward to that. I've driven down here actually, and I've just realised I needed to be the other way. I'm just wondering if my other tractor's here. It's not. It's at I've got to get rid of that as well. I hate seeing crop that glitches through the sides of shed. I've got to get rid of that. We're not doing that no more. Just because I've got absolutely nowhere I can sell that. Well, I have got somewhere I can sell it, but it's completely worthless. It's not worth the effort and the time and everything to do it. So off camera, I won't do it on camera, but I'll shovel this into the trailer. Or I might even use the elevator actually. I'll elevate that into that trailer. That's why I've brought the trailer down here. So I'll elevate that into the trailer, and then I'll just take it to them. As I say, we're not doing that no more. We're going to go back to doing it the sort of a bit more traditional, but a bit easier way as well. I love the fact that now we've put the silos up at the dairy. We can now see the silos from the dairy, so I quite like that. I have to admit, actually, that farm build that I did with the dairy, I'm really really pleased with that. I was kind of a bit worried that I might sort of make a bit of a mess of it. Anyway, we'll get back on the tractor and go back to the way we should have gone. I don't know why I came down here, but yeah, I'm trying to use the grass margins and verges. And the other thing as well, I don't know whether you've sort of taken notice, but you can see where there's no grass growing, so it's all look like that. I'm eventually beginning now to sort of paint it all back so as it looks a little bit more sort of authentic, and rather than that horrible sort of green concrete kind of bland look. So I'm sort of slowly turning this ground all over to that, and we'll sort of try and make it look a little bit prettier and a little bit better. But I say all of those trees are going to go. I'm only going to do a bit each year. They're not going to you're not going to next week I'm not going to load the first episode in and all of that is going to be completely gone. That's not how it's going to work. I'm just going to do a bit each winter. You know, for this winter we did that bit along there so we could join those two fields together. Next winter I might just carry on down there and then go across there, and then the winter after that, you know, I might do them there and down there, and sort of, you know, just each winter we'll just do a section a little bit, and sort of get through. But yeah, I was meant to come and plough this blooming field and I forgot. So yeah, in actual fact, I haven't muck spread that, so we'll tab over to that and we'll get some muck spreading in. I think, if I remember correctly, yeah, it is. I was going to say, I think the Ford end's still up here, so I'll get that filled up and we'll drive all the way down there. Well, I'll meet you down there. You don't have to drive all the way with me because it is quite a long way down there. But I'll sort all that out, get that filled, and then I'll meet you down there. Right, there we go. What was merely a few seconds for you was nearly about 20 minutes for me, I think. Yeah, so as I say, I can't wait to do those things and you know, sort of show that side of it all to you and see what you think, and yeah, hopefully you're going to enjoy. I mean, I sort of kind of told my brothers and my family about, you know, what I'm sort of kind of planning on doing, and they've been like, oh, you should call it the Travel with Jim series, or, you know, something silly like that. So I don't know, but as I say, we'll you know, we'll make a job of it somehow, I think. But I don't know quite what I am going to call it, or how I'm going to refer to it as, or whatever. But as I say, hopefully it's just sort of something a little bit different for the channel, but also informative. And you know, I'm not one of these that wants to do silly things, or, you know, sort of, I don't know, I just sort of kind of think, well, as I say, I am, you know, I'm 43 years of age, I'm single now, I'm unlikely now to kind of get with anyone, although if there is any ladies listening, drop me a message. I can't believe I just said that, but anyway, yeah, so I'd say it's unlikely that turn that off. Again, trees, the bane of my blooming life, as you well know. Yeah, so it's unlikely, as I say, that I'm going to sort of kind of meet someone now. I'm not really, I've kind of gone with the attitude of, you know, if it finds me, fantastic, but I'm not no more going to set out looking for it. But if I find it, then that's brilliant, like, you know, and I'm you know, sort of open-minded and all kind of all up for it, do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I'm not looking for it. So, but if, you know, if I do end up meeting someone and you know, that sort of is what happens, that's fantastic. You know, and naturally I'll throw myself all in, but I just kind of, I guess in a way, sort of, you know, I used to worry about that side of life, you know, quite a lot, and I'm not anymore, you know. But because I'm not, I sort of kind of thought, well, you know, I'm going to need some stuff to do. You know, you can't just sit playing farming sim every day. And then I was like, well, you know, I've sort of always kind of wanted to do, and it's not a vain thing of like wanting to kind of be a little bit more open with everyone, you know, sort of kind of tell everyone my life. I think I've had a fairly interesting life for someone that comes from the country, and, you know, sort of different things. And there's been some, you know, big events in my life, and things that will shock people, things that not even my family know, you know, and to be, you know, sort of open, transparent, and it's always kind of appealed to me, that sort of thing, you know. So we'll see what goes on, but as I say, I'm gonna get this done, and then going to get it ploughed. Although it looks as if we could do with getting it straightened off a bit, because that's a bit of a curve around there, and that's not going to make ploughing it easy. Yeah, so I might try and straighten some of that off, see what happens. But yeah, anyway, I'm probably going to get to the point now. I'm going to leave this episode here because I'm virtually empty now, so I'm not going to be able to go back up the field, and I'm overlapping now by a long way as well. Yeah, so I'm going to leave this episode here. So I'd like to thank you all very much for watching, and as I always say, and I say it because I mean it, you know, I really do appreciate every single view that I get, and as you'll know from I don't know when it was now, it was a few videos ago, I have been sort of kind of watching YouTube you know, videos, self-help videos, of trying to sort of do things that will help to get the algorithm to, in their words, love me. You know, and I see one where I should become a legend to the algorithm and all of this rubbish, and I you know, sort of was watching them all intent, making notes, and you know, like, and kind of as a, you know, sort of doing all of the things that they said, and literally, like, I would still be doing that now if it wasn't for the fact that I watched a video just before Christmas about the 7 golden rules of uploading, and I did every single one of what the 7 golden rules were. Some bits I was sort of, I didn't know that, and there were some bits that I wanted to do that I didn't know how to do, that it showed you how to do it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's now this is the sort of person I need, you know, someone who's actually not just spouting the rubbish, but is spouting the rubbish, but at the same time showing me how to do things, like putting end cards up, putting the bit in, you know, I forget what they call it, but when it pops up in the corner, you know, I'll, you know, subscribe, or it's a playlist, or, you know, go check it out, whatever, them sort of things. I didn't know how to do them. I sort of went on to the pages on when you upload a video, didn't really understand it, cause I'm not the cleverest of people, and as soon as he showed me, you know, you only have to show me once, and then I've got it, like, you know, and I was like, oh, that's how you do all that, and that's what that means, and oh, okay, I can do it now. I did all that, but then it's got, like I say, the 6 of the golden rules of doing things, and I was like doing all that, and it didn't really having much of effect. And I'd kind of sort of convinced myself, well, you're just going to have to give it time, you know, it's not going to happen overnight, you know, you've got to give it time, you know. And I suddenly kind of, you know, got to the point where, you know, I was doing these things and it wasn't really happening. And then last week, I think it was, last week, or beginning of this week, last week, I don't know, a lot happens. That it starts to merge it all into one. I watched a video from the same YouTuber who literally did the 7 golden rules, titled almost exactly, and I got both videos up and I started comparing them, and like the odd little word in the title changed, you know, the thumbnail was ever so slightly different from the one before, and it dawned on me, and I sat there and I slapped my forehead pretty hard, because the realization came in that this is not this YouTuber doing this to help me get views. This is this YouTuber doing this to get him the views that he's getting, you know, the 48,000 views that video had, you know, with his 18,000 subscribers, so that it earned. So he was earning his money, because this was his living, you know, this is what he was doing, you know, to kind of put bread on the table and that. And I suddenly kind of realised, and I thought, you know, I've been such an idiot. You know, this isn't about helping me at all. This is about him growing his channel. And all of the, I mean, because the 7 golden rules in the second video completely contradicted everything that was in the first video. Oh, this doesn't make no difference. Oh, this doesn't have no effect. oh, this, if he told you not to do something in the second video, it was like, you must do this. And yeah, it suddenly dawned on me then, and I've stopped watching them, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm just gonna do my videos. I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna, just upload my videos the way I've always done. I'm just gonna have a real load of fun at it, and to hell with it. If it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. But either way, I've had a really good time, and that's kind of my attitude to it now. So, and and that's what I'm doing. But anyway, as I say, thanks ever so much everyone for watching. So I am going to leave the video here because this backwards and forwards is going to take a little time, and I think we've probably done nearly 40 minutes again. So thanks ever so much for listening to me, and listening to me waffle on and watch while I plough away the field. And I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Bye for now.